Hello again. Welcome to the second session, which is an introduction to Jamovi. Um, in this session, I'm gonna talk about how to install Jamovi. So you will install Jamovi. You will learn how to load new data into Jamovi, how to make changes in the datasheet, how to install add-on modules into Jamovi, and finally, after you've done all of this, how to save your workplace in Jamovi. Well, you might ask why we need to use Jamovi uh, out of all the statistical software available in the market. First of all, the reason I selected Jamovi is that it's very easy to use. It's a 3D software, is very flexible, user-friendly, and at the same time, the most important reason is that it's free to use. Most of the statistical software available, you need to have a license, you need to pay a lot of money to buy the license. So this software is free to use. I mean, it's created by scientists for the scientists. And also this software is built on our statistical language. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with R or not, but R also is a statistical language with thousands of packages. And also you need to be able to do coding if you want to analyze your data with R. And if later on you want to be able to learn R, learning Jamovi is a nice step towards that goal. Well, if you want to install Jamovi on your personal computer, you just need to go to the following website, which is the official Jamovi website. And then, uh, depending on your operating system, um, whether it's Windows, Mac, or Linux, there are several options here. I mean, there are usually two different types. One is solid and one is current. I mean, the solid one is the one which has been tested by most users. So you can download the solid one. The current one is the one with the latest features, but hasn't been really tested. It might still have some bugs, but I'm using the current one and it's working very well for me. So you just go to the website and depending on your operating system, try to download one of the files here. It's either a zip or exe file. So, and then install it and open it and see whether it's working properly or not. Well, once you open Jamovi, this is the interface. This is what you see. So, I mean, once you click here, you'll see different functions here, and then you'll see the data tab here. This is where you will see your data. If you want to make any changes of the data, you can do so by using these functions here. And then this is where we're gonna spend most of the time in this module working with these functions here. So basically, you open the Jamovi, you'll see your data here, and then once you start using any of these functions here, you start doing any analysis on your data, you'll see the results here. And this is the version of the Jamovi I downloaded and I'm using. So yeah, I think that now you'd better, by now you should have downloaded Jamovi, and then once you start Jamovi, you should see a similar interface like the one I'm showing you right here. Before we start working with our dataset and uh, importing our dataset into Jamovi, I'd like you to go to these links I put here. and try to download the data sets and save them uh, on your personal computers. So it's very simple. You just copy and paste, or you just type these links into your browser, and it will lead you to these pages. And then you click on the top right uh, button here, which is download, and then it's basically downloaded, and then you save them. So the format I provided the data sets is CSV. That's the format we're going to use throughout this module. I suppose by now you have downloaded Jamovi, you have installed Jamovi, you know how to open Jamovi, and now it's time to start importing our data into Jamovi. So in order to import the data into Jamovi, you go to the menu here on the left top part, you click on it, and then you'll see different functions here, like new, open, import, save, save as, and export. So you just click on open and then browse. So you just go to the place where you save the data sets, and then you click on the data set. There are two data sets we're going to work with during this module, so you can click on any of them and then open them. But before I start opening the data set, I'd like you to know that you can import different types of data sets into Jamovi. So you can basically import Jamovi files or Jamovi templates, CSV files, which are created in Excel. So that's how we created our data set. Our data set is a CSV file. You can also import data if it's text. And then we have Excel, SPSS, and different types of formats. So ours is a CSV file, which is supported by Jamovi. So you do not need to select anything here. You just leave it like this, and then you kind of click open, and then let me, and then you'll see your data set here. That's pretty much the same data set, exactly the same data set we had in the CSV file. So these are the names of our variables, which are imported from our CSV file. But you might, before doing the analysis, you might check to see whether the scale of the variable is correct or not. So this is something that I will show you how to check in a later video, but for now that's how it works. So you click on this menu, open, and then browse. You go to the place where you saved your data set, and then you select, and then you open. It's very simple. Well, after we imported our data, we want to make sure that the data is imported properly, or if we want to make any changes on the data, it's time to do that. So the first thing we want to do, we want to make sure that the headings here are imported correctly. So the names are correct. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the data. I mean, I personally prefer to do all the things in Excel and just import the data here into Jamovi. So we do all the things in Excel and then we just import the data here. But still, we need to check that it's imported in the right way. So uh, we can double click on the name of the variables, and then you'll see the properties of this variable. So what I want you to check, which is the most important thing, is the measure type. It's the the measurement type of the variable. So I think that you already know that we have several types of variables like nominal variables, which are categorical. We have ordinal variables like rankings of a university or rankings in a race. And then we have continuous or interval variables like a score in a test. So uh, uh, picture naming latency is more like a score, is a reaction time data, so it's not categorical, it's not ordinal. But once we imported that, you see this sign here. This sign stands for nominal. So we just need to come here and change it to continuous and then click on this, and then you'll see that the sign here changes accordingly. So we just need to make sure that the measurement scale is imported correctly. Treatment is a nominal variable consisting of three uh, levels in our data. You click on it, you see that it's nominal and it has three levels, A, B, C, and each of them stands for one type of treatment. And then let's look at gender. So it has two levels and it's a nominal variable. Let's look at aphasia type. Again, it's nominal and it has two levels. So this is not a score. So it's imported in the right manner. The next variable we need to check is the anxiety level before treatment. These are scores. You can see here these are scores, and it was a test. So it's neither nominal nor ordinal. It's a continuous variable. We change it to continuous. The same with anxiety after treatment. And we just go on like this. This is the delayed anxiety test after treatment, like 6 months after treatment was over. We change it to continuous. This is the comprehension score of the people with aphasia. This is the production uh, score, language production score, and this is the pragmatic skills score. These are all measured with a test. And I want to say that this data is made, is not real data. I just made it for the purposes of this module. So please don't think that this is real data and the relationships and everything you see in this data might not hold in the real world. And then we'll go to education. Education will treat it as ordinal here. And yeah, now it's pretty much ready. ID is also the uh, ID of the participants. We never want to put the real name of the participants on the data because it should be anonymous. But aside from that, we kind of check the headings here, we kind of make sure that the data is imported in the right measurement scale, and if necessary, we change the measurement scales manually. So now this data is kind of ready for the next stage. But uh, before we go to the next stage, I'd like you to know that sometimes you need to transform some data. Like sometimes you need to have a log transformation of a variable for a statistical reasons. I'll talk about transformation in another session, but if you want to transform one of your variables, if you want to make any changes in on any one of these variables and create a new variable, it's very simple. You just go to an uh, empty one, you double click on it, and then here is the option whether you want to create a new data variable or you just want to compute or transform one of the previous variables. So we kind of select a new transform variable. We want to transform um, uh, picture naming latency. So we we call it picture naming latency log. It's the picture naming latency data, but log transformed. So use transform, create new transform. So um, here again, we call it log, then click on it. You kind of want to find the mathematical function, which here is ln, stands for log transform. You click on it, and then you delete this part, and then you just want to put the name of the variable into the parentheses. So you double click, and yeah, that's it. So now there is a new variable. There is a new variable called picture naming latency log, and that's the log transform of the original picture naming variable. That's how, like this was just an example. There are different types of transformations, there are different types of cohesions, there are different types of changes you can make to your data, and that's all here. You can do all of that here, but for now, I think is enough. If we want to do any kind of transformation, I'll talk about it later, and I just wanted to show you guys how you can do it here. Once you install Jamovi, it comes with some basic functions and statistical tests. So this is enough for our module. I don't think that we need more than this, but still, if you think that you need other modules or you need to do something which is not available here, you basically go to this plus sign here, big plus sign on the right top corner, and that's where you can find extra modules and extra functions. You can click on it, and then you can look at Jamovi library, and then you just, well, you need to be connected to internet, and then these are all available modules and extra functions and packages. Depending on your needs, you can install any of them, and then uh, just make use of them. Yeah, you can see here everything pretty much here, and then if you click here, these are the things which are installed here. So I installed these two packages. You can also install these two packages, but there are many other packages. So if we need any of these packages during this module, I will let you know, and then you can install any of them. Well, now it's time to see how we can save our workplace, how we can save all the changes we've made on our database. So um, we actually don't want to make changes every time we import the data. We just want to make the changes we want, and then from the second time on, we just want to work on the modified data. Otherwise, it could be a pain if you have to do all the changes every time you open Jamovi. So let's just make the change again on this variable, which is a continuous variable. Well, so imagine that we change all other variables, make it uh, mm, change them to the right version, and then we want to save it so that from the next time on we have the changed version. So we click on the menu here, and then we can use save. It will save an OMV format file, which is a Jamovi file. So from next time on, you can basically open this file and continue working, and then save the latest version. We'll do that in a minute. But aside from this, aside from a Jamovi file, you can actually export your data to so many other different formats. You have your regional data, and then you make changes on the new data, and then again you can make a new CSV file or any type of file. But for now, we're going to make a Jamovi file and then see once we open that whether we can see the change we've made on the picture naming latency variable or not. So we just save it. So you see here that saved is successfully saved. And then we want to open the new file. We kind of open, browse. You'll see that there is a new file created here, which is an OMV file, is a Jamovi file. It wasn't here previously and it's created. You click on it and you open. You kind of, let me drag it into the window. You kind of see that the new file has the heading has the measurement scale changed to continuous. That's it. And then now it's changed. From the next time on, you just save the latest version. And once you want to work on the data, you just open the latest version. Well, now this session is over, but before we end this session, you need to check whether you have learned the following or not. You need to check whether you can install Jamovi now. You need to check whether you can load the new data into Jamovi. You need to check whether you can make changes in the datasheet, whether you can uh, change the titles of the variables, whether you can change their measurement to scale, whether you know which tab, which function to use to transform variable and create new variables. You need to be able to install add-on modules into Jamovi if we need it. And then finally, you need to be able to save your workplace in Jamovi. It's very important to save your workplace in Jamovi. I explained it previously because you don't want to start modifying your data every time you import the data. So you have to do it the first time and then you save the uh, data file or you save the workplace in a Jamovi format. And then from next time on, you just start working on the latest Jamovi file. And then it saves you a lot of time and energy. And then since you have saved different versions, then you can track all the analysis steps you've been going through. So, yeah, that's all we needed to know about Jamovi for our um, module. Uh, there are many more things to Jamovi. You can go to the website. You can see a lot of free to use materials out there. But for our seminar, what I've talked about Jamovi so far is enough. And now it's time to end this session with a smile.